So I was like, don't get into a situation where you get offered something really interesting and large and big. And then my agent was like, Peter Jackson wants you to come down and direct Halo. And I was like, yeah, I'm going. Like, I'm in, you know.
Hello and welcome to the Cancelled Movie Report, the documentary podcast series that talks about the best movies that Hollywood never made. My name is Michael Campbell, but you can call me Cambo. And joining me, as always, is my very best friend, actor and comedian, Mr. Eden Porter.
Oh, thank you very much for having me, Cambo.
Now, I did my first report for this season last week. It finished off last week with Superman Lives.
And a great report it was.
Thank you very much. But it's your turn, your first report. How are you feeling about it?
Oh, I'm feeling pumped. I'm feeling excited. This particular film, I'm loving it. I'm liking it.
This is right up your alley.
Yeah, correct. This is, back it in. It's my alley. Let's do it.
And I believe, much like last week, this one's been a request. Is that right?
Yes, that is right, Cambo. So this one has actually been requested today by Adrian Dillerman from Ontario, Canada. Yes.
Hey, we're getting around the globe, aren't we?
We're globetrotters.
But what I like about this, because he filled out our form, actually. There's a form in the bio if you want to request a film. He filled out the form, and boy, he filled it out. He sent like a dossier of information. So I just love the idea that he wants to hear this movie, and he sends us all the information, and he sits patiently for months on end, months and months and months on end, having known all the information he sent us, just to hear us kind of interpolate it a little bit like that. It's an efficient system, isn't it?
Very efficient if you want to see things made and you've got a little bit of time on your hands.
Yeah, time is key.
Yeah, correct. Yeah, but the thing is, we get there in the end, Cambo, and that's why today we're going to be talking about, especially from Adrian, Halo, the movie.
Big one. Big project
yes,
this one. Well,
huge.
without any further ado, let's get into it.
The year is 2005. Microsoft, not content with controlling the computer market and the console wars, have decided to dip their toe into the world of filmmaking. That's right, and dip their toe with their crown jewel of a franchise, Halo. Now, being a big tech company, even with their pedigree in video games, they showed an incredible lack of understanding of the movie industry as a whole. They really went in there. And they couldn't have stuffed it up more, Cambo.
Oh, great.
I'm giving you a bit of the setup here.
You're teasing maybe episode 2.
Yeah, correct. Now, instead of sending over men in suits to maybe negotiate with some film studios, they sent people in suits, but not irregular suits. They sent them in Spartan body armor suits. They got these 6-foot-tall actors to go around to like Fox, New Line, DreamWorks, all these big film studios. They had a script in hand written by Alex Garland from 28 Days Later fame. It cost them $1 million to buy that script of him, so they're already $1 million.
So so he wrote it freelance for them, and they brought it off him.
Yeah. I know, crazy. They sent all these actors all across town. In this sort of dawn raid to all these movie studios. It did not go well.
Because I imagine if you're like a 50-year-old executive in 2000 and whatever, you're probably not playing Halo. So you look out the window to all these Spartan soldiers and be like, well, this is the end of the world.
What is going on here? What is going on here? But there was a buzz. People were talking about this at the time. Now, it never actually got to the stage of casting, but it did have a director and a producer attached, okay? So we had Peter Jackson from Lord of the Rings fame. He was the producer, and he had his young protege, Neil Blomkamp. This was pre-District 9, of course, so he was just sort of coming out as a new young director. However, it wasn't the first choice of director. Guillermo del Toro was actually in talks beforehand.
Really?
And he stepped away from it. So there are some
Love stepping away from Peter Jackson projects.
Yes, he really... It's sort of his MO.
This is what I remember, because I remember this being a thing. This was everywhere. This was huge news that they were making a Halo movie, and they were making it themselves. Yeah. And Peter Jackson was very much the name they hung all of
everything on.
It was like Neil Blomkamp at that time
was unknown, totally unknown. Yeah. Well, there's some of the other people that you might recognise that had something to do with it. So they did a lot of rewrites of the script, and one of the rewrites was actually by Game of Thrones writer.
It's either Benioff or White. I'm going to say White.
Correct.
Yes! 50-50.
No. But yes, he did a couple of rewrites for it as well. This was Neil's big opportunity to really get out there and make a massive film. He's unknown before this.
From my understanding, he'd done a couple of short films at this point, right?
Yes, he's done...
What a massive project to throw at him.
Huge. Absolutely huge. So he did these short films that Peter Jackson absolutely loved.
Yeah.
And one of them actually ended up becoming District 9 afterwards. So there was it was a big opportunity for him.
And you started to develop, you wrote the film with your wife, and you started developing the film with Peter Jackson and with Weta Workshop.
Right.
What was that process like? What sort of, to me, I imagine that like if you're at Weta, they're opening up the world's largest toy box for you to play with.
That's exactly what happened. Yeah, what happened was I had this rule with myself where I was like, whenever I looked at directors that I liked that had kind of gone into like the wrong version of the giant studio mechanism and had done some faceless massive film, I always didn't like that as much as some other piece that they'd done. So I was like, don't get into a situation where you get offered something really interesting and large and big, where you're just going to get like, meat grinded into like the next young director that just made this horrific film. Don't do that. And then my agent was like, Peter Jackson wants you to come down and direct Halo. And I was like, yeah, I'm going. Like, I'm in, and then I remember like I was in New York and I was there for a meeting about District 9, about Alive in Joburg. And, I was like, I think I can make this into a film with the studio in New York. And my agent was like, yeah, Jackson saw Alive in Joburg and he says that he wants you to do Halo, so you should go and see it. And they were like, they'll tour you around Weta. And I was like, I knew instantly that there was like, I wasn't going to be able to get out of that. Like as soon as I was there, I would just love everything. That's exactly what happened. So, and then I spent 6 months making Halo and then the rug got pulled out, so.
And you'd made some short Halo films that
was slightly different. What happened there was I was in the process of making the feature film, and Microsoft was involved to some degree in making the feature. Obviously it's their IP, and they were involved. And while we were doing the feature, when it was sort of like rocky, like it was not clear what the studios, like which way it was going to go, Microsoft was like, "Do you want to direct?" Basically like these commercials, that are kind of like weird short films that are for the launch of Halo, I think Halo 3. And I was like, yeah, like it was just a way to kind of like dip my toes back into production while I was kind of waiting to see what would happen with the film. So those actually came long after I was in production on the movie. I mean, we'd spent millions of dollars on like vehicles and wardrobe and like built stuff, and we were in the process of doing that when I was doing these little pieces. And Guillermo del Toro had actually also directed Halo prior to me. So there was like a whole banner of like Guillermo's artwork as well, like it was amazing.
Yeah, so that's a little bit of an insight of his journey there.
Yeah. It's crazy that they just decided to make it independently with no idea of how to do it.
Yeah.
And it sounds like at one point everyone was just sitting around being like, I don't know if we're going to make this or not.
Yeah, for 8 months getting paid.
That's crazy. And at this point, surely Peter Jackson is king of Hollywood, because this is just after Lord of the Rings. Right?
Oh my God, he can do no wrong.
Wow.
Well, debatable. But the other person that was involved was Alex Garland, who wrote 28 Days Later.
And I just want to say, huge Alex Garland fan over here.
Oh, really?
Love Alex Garland.
Okay, well, for him, he sort of said it was a different kind of project. Something like Halo, he was a writer for hire. They hired him to write exactly what they wanted, and they were saying, do it like this, do it like this. And he's like, that's fine, that's exactly how I do it. Completely different to his other films he was saying about like Sunshine or 28 Days Later, where they're passion projects and he could do really what he wanted with them. So it's an interesting thing to think about, that you've just got this big company that's gone, write exactly this.
Yeah.
This is exactly what we want. And then how that sort of plays out.
So this is a video game movie, and I don't know that much about video games. You're much more the gamer than me. But I believe to make this kind of as gamey as possible, you've actually brought in some voice talent to kind of really give it video game bona fide, if you will.
That's right. From the Australiana video game kings and queens, I've got a couple of special guest voices. We've got Stephanie Bendixsen.
Yes.
You might know her as Hex.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
we've also got Ronald, that you might know as Goose.
Yeah.
That's right. They're lending their voices today.
It's so great because they are like, in Australia at least, they are like on a pedestal of video games. They are the video game people. So the fact that you've managed to somehow wrangle them into this scene.
Mate, if there was ever a film to get these guys involved in, it's definitely this one. So before we get started, I just want to go through. So it didn't actually get up to casting. There's none really attached to it. it was this big sci-fi epic that was going to be faithful to the games. I just want to know, in terms of Halo,
Yep.
what's your understanding of Halo?
So
The games or any-
I'll explain my history of
Okay.
the game Halo, my personal history with it. So Halo 1, Halo Combat Evolved,
Yep.
I played that
Great.
on the original Xbox.
Yep.
That's the end
Okay,
of my
that's-
history with the Halo franchise.
Well, you say that, but I think you'll probably be pretty comfortable with this then.
Can I tell you the things I remember about Halo? Because
Okay.
I played it. It came with my Xbox.
Oh,
When I
wow.
brought it way
Okay.
back. Like it was
OG.
OG. Yeah. I remember Master Chief.
Yep, great. Tick.
The main fella. He has a little robot in his helmet. Little voice that he's hearing all the time.
Yeah.
I remember Warthogs,
Very good. Yes.
which is a vehicle.
Yep.
I remember spiky guns.
Yeah. The Needler.
Yep. Yeah. And I remember, I believe the villains, I believe they're called the Flood.
Yeah, there are many villains, but
Right.
that is
Well,
that is
I remember the Flood.
Yeah, good.
And the titular Halo being the weird kind of constructed planet that is a ring.
You're basically an expert, Cambo. Don't come at that with me. So we've got a little bit of your understanding.
Yep.
I know what's going on.
Yeah.
So let's get into it. We open on a Spartan helmet. We see a reflection in the visor. It's a city under attack. Snap back to a 7-foot-tall Master Chief in full armour with his MA-5B assault rifle. You'll notice that all the guns, they will refer to them as their full names throughout the entire script. It's not just an assault rifle, it's an MA-5B
So it's
assault
part
rifle.
scripts, part like technical manual.
Oh, yes. Oh, there's definitely that. We snap back again to Master Chief, but this time in front of 50 other Spartans, all with their heads watching the sky. A Covenant dropship lands. Cut to quick shots of a battlefield. We see Spartans, they are super warriors, combat machines designed for killing. There's something hypnotic about the way they fight. Amidst the chaos, there are precise movements, training embedded deep within them. We see the Covenant swarm across the battlefield. Hunters, grunts, jackals, frenzied in their ultra-violence. The battle rages, but the sheer numbers of the Covenant are overwhelming. A caption appears. The year 2552. A coalition of alien species known as the Covenant are waging a genocidal holy war against mankind. And mankind are losing. How about that for a
Wow.
caption?
So it begins with this like bloody epic war montage.
Massively.
Spartans versus the Covenant, which I'm assuming are the aliens.
They're yep, correct. And lots of blood, lots of things explosion. But it really sets up the fact that the Spartans are like the ultimate badasses. It mentions badass a lot in this film.
So it mentions badass, and it's going to mention like full names of guns.
Guns, yeah, correct. We now cut to space. It's a peaceful constellation of stars, and we pan across to see a gas giant of a planet. And orbiting the gas giant, there's what appears to be a metal ring, about the size of a moon. The interior of the band seems to be green and blue. Water and landscapes are dotted across it. It's as if someone cut a strip of earth and lined it inside a metal ring. That's Halo, Cambo.
It's one of the things I remembered.
Suddenly, a rip in space and a hulking, grey, massive spaceship appears. The Pillar of Autumn. It's written on the side of it, so you know exactly. When you're in space, you want to see the side of the ships. We zoom in on the bridge. We see a man gazing out. It's the commander, Captain Keyes. Now, I've got a couple of visual aids for you, Cambo, if you want to have a look at it.
You've provided me with imagery.
Yes, correct.
To help, it's like a glossary.
It is a glossary
Yeah.
term. So I'll just show you here. So we've got the first picture there. We've got there's the Pillar of Autumn, which is one of the big ships there.
Yeah, so I'm looking at the Pillar of Autumn, big industrial-looking grey hulking ship.
Correct. That's it. And then we've got the Spartans there. That's just to give you a little bit of an understanding of the Spartans there.
So the Spartans, I'm more familiar with. Like obviously, I know they're from Halo, but they're a very popular cosplay.
Oh yeah.
I feel
of
like
course,
if you
yeah.
ever see footage from a Comic-Con, you've got a couple of Spartans walking around.
So now you've got a visual. I've painted you a picture
So,
there.
yeah. So the Spartans on the ship.
Yeah. No Spartans on the ship. That was a previous battle. This is the Pillar of Autumn. There's no Spartans.
No
around.
Spartans on the Pillar of Autumn.
No. Well, there may be one Spartan on the Pillar of Autumn. But we survey the scene. Okay? Keyes is looking out through the bridge. He has 2 questions. Where the hell have they come to? And did we lose them? He seems to be speaking to an empty room, but the female AI voice of the ship comes over the intercom. It's Cortana. She answers. She starts scanning the planet in front of them, but before she can finish, another rip in space appears and a Covenant capital ship appears behind them. Alarms ring out across the ship. Battle stations. We see engineers, medics, marines, all grabbing headwear and helmets and guns. They're getting ready to be boarded. Smaller attack ships pour out from the Covenant cruisers, and then other smaller ships again come out of the Pillar of Order. This big dogfight starts happening in space. We zoom all the way back in from the space battle, right back into the bridge. We see Captain Keyes, and he's talking to Cortana.
Cortana, what's that structure ahead?
Unknown. Artificial.
Space station?
Negative.
Covenant?
Negative. Based on current database of Covenant structures. And there's something strange. It's nitrogen and oxygen rich, life-supporting. And it was obviously built by someone, but no sentient life forms appear on scan.
Oxygen rich is all I need to know. Get us close. I want to be within lifeboat range.
On approach vector now.
And Cortana, it's time we woke our war dog.
War dog.
Who do you think the war dog could be,
Well, I've
Cambo?
seen the movie War Dogs. So it's either going to be Miles Teller or Jonah Hill.
What about...
Possibly Bradley Cooper.
Yes, correct.
Possibly Bradley Cooper.
Very good. Well, we're going to find out just in a minute, because now we go into a dream sequence.
Ooh.
We cut to a dream sequence, and it's Master Chief, surrounded by Covenant troops, all alone. He's the last Spartan standing. He looks up at the sky, blood red sort of sky.
Yeah, great.
And then it whites out. We cut to the cryo chamber in the Pillar of Autumn. 2 engineers are looking into the sealed chamber as the life support monitor beeps in the background. The chamber depressurizes with a blast of smoke, and someone places both their hands outside the chamber and pulls themselves out. He towers over the 2 men as we look from his POV, and all we hear is his first words.
What are my orders?
Now, I remember this is where the video game begins.
Yeah, exactly.
The video game begins with you waking up from cryos.
Yeah, so this
and
is...
you're under attack.
Yeah. And it does describe him as badass.
Yeah, great.
Okay.
Can you just let me know every time he's badass?
Yeah, I'll just probably say BA. Yeah. You save some time. So we're back in the Pillar of Autumn. There's explosions ripping through heavy blast doors. The battle has broken out onto the ship. The Covenant are starting to board. Master Chief runs past a corridor where a Marine shouts at him, "Master Chief, you've got to help us, we're under attack." So Master Chief runs past the Marine, grabs an assault rifle and 2 grenades. He leaps over the man. He's in front of his barricade. He then tosses both grenades down a corridor while he starts blazing away with his assault rifle. Yeah, he walks back unscathed from the smoke. And just as he's standing there, everyone's like, the Marine's like, "Oh my God, this is fun. This is really crazy." Then one final grunt appears. Master Chief pulls out his M6D pistol.
Great.
Yeah, good. Got the reference. He pulls it out from the Marine in front of him. He spins around in one motion and nails the grunt between the eyes. He goes to give the pistol back to the Marine named Jenkins, and Jenkins replies,
Keep it.
Can I say BA?
Yeah, it's BA. It's
Pretty
massively
BA.
BA right there. See, they just put these little scenes in of he's just running past. They're like, "Can you do this?" And he just blows everything up and leaves unscathed. It's the ultimate. He's the ultimate.
But they're like a rare ship. They have a Spartan warrior on board. To help you.
Exactly. So the Marines are like freaking out when they see this guy. They're like, "Oh my God,
it's him."
Can you sign my
Like
top?"
just fatting themselves off.
Can you please sign my MD6 pistol? Exactly. So Master Chief, after saving these Marines, he makes his way to the bridge. There, he gets briefed.
Sir, there are primary thrust engines offline. Massive pressure loss on 4 port side decks, 6 through 9.
They're using our lifeboat airlocks to attach their boarding craft.
Blocking our way out as they make their way in. Smart bastards.
Sir, we have just lost the main cannon.
Reporting as ordered, sir.
Good to see you, Master Chief. Let me get you up to speed. We're in the shit. So here's what's gonna happen. You're gonna get Cortana off this ship and keep her safe from the enemy.
Sir?
The Pillar of Autumn is going down, and you're not going down with it.
You are?
I'm going to keep a skeleton crew and land on the object we've found. But destruction or capture of the shipboard AI is not an option.
Sir, as a tactical point, your best bet to land this ship is me.
As a tactical point, Cortana, if the Covenant capture you, they'll learn everything. Force deployment, system schematics, weapon research, not to mention the location of planet Earth. Now, are you gonna make me invoke and override command, or just do as you're told?
Preparing for a hard transfer, sir.
I just want to clear something up, though. The big fear here is that if they get this information, the Covenant are going to find the location of Earth.
Yeah, correct. They're going to find out all about their tactics and everything, where Earth is, and they can directly attack Earth. So it's within their interest to not tell them. Yeah. So we're now back in the Pillar of Autumn, but in a lower deck, and we're introduced to Major Silvia and his Hell Jumper Squad. These like a special force, and you know what they are? They're BA. They're in the fight against some Covenant forces, right? They're blowing everyone up. We hear the voice of Captain Keyes over the intercom to abandon ship. The Hell Jumpers, they make their way to the lifeboats. Captain Keyes then opens a console and takes out a slim translucent card. He looks at Chief and he inserts the card into the back of his neck. If you're friends with him, you can just call him Chief. It doesn't always have to be Master
MC?
Chief. Yeah.
No, 'cause that's my initials. That would be confusing.
That would be very confusing. So Master Chief then takes it and he sort of accepts the chip in the... I don't know how you accept a chip in the back of your head, but he does.
It kind of like uploads into his system, I guess.
Correct. So then he quickly sort of leaves Captain Keyes on the bridge and he starts running towards the lifeboats.
And at this point, so the Cortana has uploaded into his helmet and they are now kind of one, I guess.
Yes, yeah.
The gruesome twosome.
The gruesome twosome,
Right.
yes. Exactly. But he doesn't know that yet. He doesn't know the full extent of that yet.
Okay.
So he's going down these corridors trying to get to a lifeboat. He weaves down several corridors and then he sees his path blocked by an elite.
So an elite from the imagery you've provided me, which you'll find in the link in the description and our blog.
Yep.
They are a big grey hulking alien with blue armor and a bit of a laser sword blade kind of thing.
They love their laser swords.
Yeah. And this is another bit of imagery I know is the blade with the split down the middle.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So
I've seen cosplay.
Yeah, you've seen lots of cosplay, Cambo. So there's this huge elite in his way, tall, armoured, looking very BA. Now, the elite doesn't see Master Chief yet. So Master Chief, he makes his way silently. For a big lad, he can sneak with the best of them. Oh yeah, big time.
Sneaky lad.
Yeah, very sneaky boy. It's those soft shoes. He's in Hush Puppies. But he sort of makes his way up to the elite. The elite doesn't even see him. And then a Cobra strike. He strikes with the butt of his assault rifle, taking out the elite shield. Then Master Chief empties half a clip into the elite's torso. So that's a classic move in the game where you butt them and they get through their shields completely.
Yeah.
It's great.
It's great.
It's in the movie.
Yeah. I'd
be losing my mind to this.
It's a less, how sometimes a video game either will arbitrarily and ham-fistedly add in a bit of the game, like the movie Battleship. Where at one moment it goes like bird's eye view and you see the battleship thing.
A1 hit.
Yeah. But this is a little more like, oh, cool, I recognize that combo from the game.
It's very cool. I would lose my mind. As Master Chief looks around, surveys the room, everyone's dead in it. He hears in his head,
Good work, Master Chief. I can tell I'm in good hands.
It sort of startles him. He's like, who are you? What's this? It's Cortana, and she's speaking because she's been hardwired into his neural network. So now she's living in his head.
Oh, right.
So she's talking to him through his head.
And this is what I remember, the robot in the head.
Yeah, robot in the head. Robot in the head. I'm sorry, you've got a robot in the head. So now he's got a robot in his head.
Yeah.
So Unstoppable comes to mind. Very BA. Master Chief, he makes his way down the final corridor and jumps into the last remaining lifeboat. The ship blasts out of the Pillar of Autumn and makes its way down to the ring world below. We see a bunch of other lifeboats making their way to the halo surface. Sort of like a mini meteor shower, they describe it. As we get closer to the landscape, we see it has rolling hills, waters, deserts, but there seems to be no life. Just strange sort of metallic constructs, sort of alien in their design. We cut to inside the lifeboat. Air brake failure, brace for impact. And then, which they describe this as completely inside the vessel, like POV style. Yeah. So there's no outside shots or anything. We have a full crash landing experience with everyone being sort of thrown around and everything, which is a pretty cool little piece to do there. Then we have Master Chief waking up in the wreckage. Cortana's voice in his head ringing, wake up, because she hasn't been knocked down.
Yeah.
She's just been hanging around.
She's robot in the head.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Can I just say, at this moment, this has been non-stop action.
Oh. And it's not going to slow down.
It started with a battle montage into ship being attacked, into Spartan waking up, into him taking out the thing, into them escaping into a crash landing.
Oh, mate, it gets more insane as we go along. Just wait. So Master Chief, he's woken up. He's sort of groggy. He looks around. Everyone else is dead. It's a common thing. Everyone dies around except for Master Chief. It happens all the time. So he looks around, viewing his surroundings. But his head turns upwards and he sees the pillar of autumn descending towards the planet at high speed, with plumes of white vapor behind it. A huge impact as it smashes into the surface of the ring. A shockwave. At first they can only see it coming towards them,
cool.
and then absolutely annihilate. So they see it coming down the ring. It's a cool image. It's a really cool image.
I love that.
The silence is broken with Covenant dropships incoming overhead. Master Chief hides behind a rock cluster as he watches the Covenant dropships land. Several elites, you remember elites?
Yep.
But he also has some grunts with him.
Okay, a grunt, as I see it, is some kind of lizard fishman hybrid. But he's got, I recognize this gun. It looks a little bit like a Star-Lord blaster, actually.
Yeah, well, very good. That's where they got it from.
But stole it. Looks very short.
Very short, very little guy, very easy to kill.
A grunt.
You just butt them in the head and they're dead, basically.
They're not subtle with their names.
No, not at all.
Grunt elite.
Oh, there's a lot more. You've got hunters and jackals and things like that.
What do hunters do?
They're actually gatherers. The elites and grunts, they're all sort of speaking in their own alien language, but Cortana provides a instantaneous digital translation directly into Master Chief's neural network. So when we're watching the film, we can actually hear what they're saying, which is an added bonus.
Yeah, a great little piece of
for the
plot
audience.
contrivance.
Yeah. If you want people to explain what's going on and they speak a different language.
Speaking of Guardians of the Galaxy again, I think there's like a little bit of text when Star-Lord's arrested saying that he has a universal translator
in his head. Yeah, very good. So he hears them talking about searching for survivors and burning the bodies. But just as the Covenant, they're sort of spreading out, one of the elites, he sees a single footprint in the mud and he points to the ridge where Master Chief is hiding.
No. So I'm sorry, but every time you say elite, in my head I do think of like a very snobby yacht-owning man.
Oh, yes. He says...
I say there's one of the big feet heading that way.
He's got like a little monocle in there.
Have one of the servants fetch him.
I said good day, sir.
But still looking as they look here.
Oh, exactly. Don't change him. Put a top hat on him and a monocle. So he lets out a large guttural sort of noise that obviously has no translation for Cortana. But then suddenly 3 ghosts emerge. Now ghosts are like little sort of speeder bike, like some Star Wars, they're sort of speeder bike sort of things. They come zooming out, 3 of them, they're sort of lightweight crafts, and they start racing their way towards Master Chief. And what precedes is 3 pages of basically a chase from the ghosts chasing Master Chief through this little
big
thing.
Chase sequence.
I'll give you some highlights.
Yep, great.
Master Chief, he dives out of the way of one of the ghosts as it flies past. He unleashes a clip into the side of it. It explodes into a wall. That's 1 down. The second one rams him, and he finds himself stuck like a bug on the windscreen of it, and he's trading punches with the elite in there. He punches him so hard that he cracks his neck off, and he falls dead side. Then Master Chief gets into the pilot seat. Now he's flying the ghost. So he's going along, he's just about to sort of go off a cliff, and he dodges it, then he goes over a rise, and he does go over another cliff, because this is an 800-foot drop. So he dodges one cliff only to fall off another.
Even larger, I imagine.
Exactly. So he lands, he sort of does a bit of a skid, and then the final ghost sort of comes down behind him, and then they're both facing each other. And they start doing that strafing sort of thing, where they sort of strafe around each other.
So they're kind of like going almost like in big circles, but facing each other.
Exactly. And it's very old Western.
Yeah.
It's very like OK Corral, zooming on their eyes. They've got their sort of guns.
You imagine some whistling in the soundtrack.
Very much so. Then they start revving towards each other, and then we cut. Ooh. Which is very odd for this film to cut away from an action scene and not spend another 3 pages on it. Now, we cut to Marines from another dropship. They've got a fortified position under a sort of a spire of metal. They're in the heat of battle, ammo running low. They're looking down sort of the side of their assault rifles, and you can see Covenant dropping, but the sheer number of the Covenant keep approaching, and it looks all but lost. Then, out of nowhere, something flies over the Marines' heads. Yeah? It's the ghost piloted by Master Chief. And this is a great little line here. One of the Marines goes, "What the hell is that?" And then the sergeant says, "It's the cavalry." which is great.
I'm just imagining Alex Garland writing at a laptop with like a Microsoft exec over his shoulder. He's like, and you want me to put in it's the cavalry? Oh, yeah.
Oh, definitely. It's definitely the cavalry.
Oh, all right.
And then it literally just says the Marines win the battle. It just throws that away.
Yeah.
So they win the battle.
He ran
right?
out of momentum.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You can't explain it all.
But to be clear, they sent the ghosts after Master Chief. And as is tradition, everyone wound up dead except for Master Chief.
Correct.
Yeah.
Great. So they're in the aftermath of the battle now, and Master Chief talks to look. There's one or two remaining Marines, and he has a bit of a chat with them.
We need to regroup with the rest of the survivors. They may be scattered all over this ring.
Agreed. Have you made contact with any?
Yes, sir. A Pelican dropship pilot, name of Kara Rowling. Call sign
Fohammer. She's alive.
Alive and inbound, sir.
Who's Fohammer?
A fine soldier. We go back.
So I see. Your neural web just lit up like a Christmas tree.
Sir? Who are you talking to?
What do you mean by that?
He can't hear me.
Oh, right. No one.
No one?
I'm not saying you're no one.
I didn't think you were, sir.
No, not you. I'll forget it.
Is this quiet time?
It was.
Sorry. I get that it must be strange. Having me with you like this, it's intimate. If it's any consolation, it's pretty strange for me too. Sharing a consciousness. I suppose you want to know if I can tell what you're thinking.
Can you?
Kind of. I get flashes. Impulses. It's hard to describe.
So, what am I thinking now?
You're thinking what I'm thinking. What happened to Captain Keyes?
Whoa. Okay.
You didn't make me aware that this is a madcap romantic comedy.
Well, sorry, I should have said that. It is chock full of comedy hijinks. How about that little bit of, you talking to me? No, are you talking to me? Who's on first? We can write some gags in there.
And there's any number of gruff-sounding gentlemen.
Oh, everyone
Yeah.
is
That's
super gruff.
something I remember from the game. Is just, it's like the brief was smoke a carton of cigarettes before you come into the recording studio. Because every single line is, no, you don't understand.
It's like a battle to who can be more gruff.
I like to think that like line by line, the actors are getting lower and lower.
Gruffer
What's
and
the
gruff.
situation? Well, it's bad. How bad is it?
It's pretty bad.
I've thrown my back out. So we've got some gruff Marines there. They're wondering what happened to Captain Keyes. Well, let's go find out. Because we cut back to Captain Keyes and he stands in the destroyed bridge. He grabs a comm link and over it he tells Major Silvia of the Hell Jumpers that do not attempt a rescue in any circumstances and that Silvia can assume command from this point on. Captain Keyes drops the comm link as the door to the bridge bursts open from plasma grenades. Captain Keyes, he sees he's outnumbered and he puts his pistol to his head. But then he falters and he turns it on the elite coming at him and he shoots the elite in the head, but then all the other guys jump on him and capture him and drag him out screaming.
But he went out like a noble soldier.
Yeah, exactly. But really, he probably should have shot himself in the head because you don't get taken alive.
You
mate.
never get taken off.
That's military 101 sort of shit there. So,
Keys.
we then cut back to the Pelican dropship and they take off in the sky. Fohammer, she's piloting, and Master Chief and her, they become reacquainted themselves. Because remember, his neuron net lit up like a Christmas tree when he thought about her. She tells him that Major Silvia, he's commanding the what's left of the Marines, and they've set up a base camp. So the Pelican takes off towards it. So we then land at this sort of halo sort of base camp area that the Marines have. So we're now at the Marines base camp at this makeshift comms tent. Inside you've got Major Silvia and sort of Master Chief comes in and everyone, they're sort of discussing what's to be done.
Stand down, men. Let him through. So, the Spartan. I understand you're carrying Cortana.
Yes, sir.
Unfortunately, we don't have any hardware sufficient for you to dock her, so you'll be babysitting a while longer.
Babysitting?
Think you can handle that?
No problem, sir.
Fine. Then I recommend you find a nice little spot to sit tight, rest up, and wait until we can relieve you of your duties.
You want me to stay out of combat, sir.
That is correct. I want you to stay as far out as you can get. Dismissed, Spartan. You still here?
Sir, request information on the whereabouts of...
Keys? MIA. Everything else is need to know. And before you ask, you don't need to know shit.
What a meathead.
He wants me out of combat to keep you safe. It's a sound decision.
I've met plenty like him. The truth is, he enjoys war. If he isn't putting down rounds, he isn't living. What the... Chief, are you okay?
Yeah. I'm just running a little low on blood.
Yeah.
Great line.
Great line.
Great line.
And you know what? It's your classic BA line.
It's a
classic-
BA line.
It's classic.
Yeah.
So
Be positive line because of blood.
Heyo. So we have the wounded Master Chief. He's getting a blood transfusion now, right? We see a bit of his body as he's getting the blood in it. It's all scarred and it's sort of white, but we don't see his face. Never his face. He then does his own medical procedure. So he sort of opens up some wounds, he staples himself closed, he removes shrapnel, all while just simply talking through the situation with Cortana, right? And so I just want to ask you, Cambo, so as he's doing this, and he's doing this medical operation on himself, do you think maybe he has some quip at the end or some line that he might say after doing this to himself? I just want just throw it out there. What do you think he could say?
Just before this, because I really want to visualize this scene.
Yep.
He's patching himself up, but is it no shirt but helmet?
Oh, it doesn't say that,
would
but
be
I think
great.
it's definitely no shirt but helmet.
I'd love no shirt but helmet.
No shirt but helmet is a fantastic.
Okay.
What do you think he says?
He's patched himself back up. He's BA,
Yeah.
so he needs to say something BA.
Yeah. Oh, it's BA.
Yeah, okay. I'm thinking something like cheated death for another day.
Oh, that's good. And you got the gruff voice there
thank
as
you.
well. That's good. It's close, but what he actually says at the end is,
I forgot the morphine.
Oh my god, so BA.
it's pretty good.
He's surprised that
It's
it's the
pretty
funniest
good.
bit. Like, oops.
Oh, that should have hurt. I actually think that's pretty good.
Great. It's great. That's the kind of line that you would wish that maybe they got Arnold Schwarzenegger to play Master Chief.
Oh, yeah, yes. Forgot the morphine. Great. Amazing. Love it. We are then treated to another Master Chief dream sequence.
Ooh.
Yeah, exactly. So now we've got burning cities again, filled with bodies of Spartans. Yeah? Then Cortana appears in his dream in a sort of a physical form. If you want to have a look at what she looks like, she's like a blue...
Yeah, I remember Cortana.
Yeah, you remember. Yeah. Oh, yeah, you know.
Blue lady.
Yeah, blue lady.
Yeah.
Blue lady. Blue lady on the shoulder, in the head. Yeah, all that stuff. She explains that when he dreams, so does she.
Ooh.
Yeah, so she's in there. So then he starts talking about that this was Planet Reach, the largest interplanetary human colony. The Spartans were meant to protect it, and they didn't. Cortana asks him, how did you get out? He tells him that Fohammer came back. She said that she doesn't leave soldiers behind. Master Chief then hears screams in the distance. These aren't dream screams. It's coming from real life. He suddenly wakes up. He rushes to the source of the noise. It's in the command center, and we see Major Silvia interrogating an elite. Ooh. Yeah. So we have this elite interrogation now. They sort of slap him around a bit. He's sort of hogtied to the table. They get the information.
Monocle's probably been slapped right off his face.
Right off his face. That's the first thing to go, Cambo. That's the first thing to go. They find out that Captain Keyes is alive and he's more than likely being interrogated to get intel on Earth. So now they don't really need Cortana. They've got sort of Keyes to sort of tell them about that. And it ends with Silvia putting a gun to the elite's head and is like, thanks for the information. And he just point blank blows its head off. Great. And it says in the script, shockingly brutal.
Oh.
Shockingly brutal. So now they sort of know what's happening.
Yeah.
So after the interrogation, Major Silvia, he puts a plan together. They need to secure Captain Keyes before he breaks from torture. And they do say torture there, and it's funny because when humans do it, it's interrogation. But when the Covenant do it, they're torturing him for information.
I think Alex Garland needs to take a long, hard look at himself.
I think so, mate. I picked up on that. Now, Cortana projects a hologram image of herself into the actual room. It's no longer in a dream sequence. It's actually there in real life. And she'll, for the majority of the film from now on, she'll actually project herself out of Master Chief's helmet.
It makes sense for a visual language like film.
Exactly. You want to show, don't tell, Cambo. Although she does tell a lot while she's showing. She says if they're going on board the Covenant ship to rescue Captain Keyes, then she could actually get access to their mainframe, the Covenant's mainframe. She could then learn everything about the enemy. They could turn the tide of war with the intel that they could gain. So Major Silvia, he agrees. Master Chief and Cortana are coming along for this rescue mission.
Okay, so they're going to rescue the captain.
Yep.
And they think if they can get to the ship, they can attach her to their mainframe, the Covenant mainframe, and learn all of their
information. Yeah, exactly. It's the old switcheroo, Cambo. So now,
but when they do it, it's a mission. But when the aliens do it, it's like a terrorist attack.
Exactly. So now they've got the mission, and we're at the Covenant base camp, because the Covenant have set up their own little base camp as well.
That's cute.
Now, the Helljumpers and Master Chief, they do a succession of quiet stealth kills.
With a sneaky boy.
Very sneaky. He's put the sneaky shoes back on, and he's doing his sneaky boy routine. So it's cool because they can show they can be sort of BA with explosions, but also BA with a little bit of stabby.
Oh, with a stabby BA.
Oh, yeah, stabby BA. So they've now killed all the Covenant in this little outpost base, and there is a gravity lift there from the base camp. And that gravity lift goes straight up all the way to the main ship of the Covenant. Now, they've killed a bunch of jackals and grunts. The squad, they then all jump into the gravity lift and they make their way up to the Covenant loading bay. So they appear, and the Covenant ship it has on the side, it's called the Truth and Reconciliation. That's the name of the Covenant ship.
That's quite a fancy name for like a brutal alien force. Oh, though then again, they are joined by the elites.
Exactly, but it is a holy war, remember? Okay. And that's something that when I played Halo games, I remember when I played the first one, I didn't really pick up on that aspect of it.
This is my memory of playing Halo. I played the first Halo game, and from memory, it's very simple.
Yeah.
Crash on the planet Halo. Yep. The aliens are coming. You need to destroy them. Stop them getting to Earth. Yep. And then I remember I actually purchased the second Halo, and it starts in like a Senate chamber, and they're like debating, and I just turned it off. I was like, I don't know this.
It's very Phantom Menace.
Yeah, it was all about like holy wars and sex and all that. I'm like, just ditch me on a planet and tell me to shoot aliens. That's all I wanted.
I just want to be BA.
Yeah, I just want to be BA.
I
want to be a sneaky boy, but a stabby.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So now they've all come out of the gravity lift into this massive sort of loading bay, and it's full of Covenant troops. They start this huge battle scene in this loading bay, and it describes it as extremely bloody, right? Halfway through, these two big bay doors open, and they get smashed apart, and we hear the Marines yell, "Hunters!"
Oh no, the gatherers are coming.
Have you seen what they look like?
The hunter, I mean, look, they're all quite grey and hulking.
Yeah.
This one slightly green tinged.
Yep.
Big rocket arm.
Yes, yep, you can call it that.
Blaster on the arm.
Yep.
And the other arm, is that a shield that I'm seeing?
Yeah, there's a bit of that going on.
And big spikes.
Now,
it looks a bit like a shark, if I'm going to be honest.
Well, it's actually interesting because that's just mainly its armor, because it's actually made up of these little sort of eel sort of aliens that all sort of fit inside it. And so when you kill one, these all little like eely sort of things come out, and they're actually controlling it and stuff like that.
So it's a bit of a hive mind.
It's pretty cool, Cambo. It's pretty cool. So two of these huge guys. Now these guys are 12 feet tall, right? They've got this blue armor, and they've got fuel rod cannons instead of arms. Like one of their arms is a fuel rod cannon. Now the hell jumpers that are in there, they're firing all their bullets out, and the bullets are just bouncing off these giant hunters. They duck and dive out of the way as these fuel rod cannons like unleash these bolts that just like blow up half this space. So it's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. Then Master Chief, as he's diving out of the way, he knocks over a box of plasma grenades, right? And if you've used plasma grenades in the game, they're the ones that stick, which is so much fun. So you can see where this is going.
Yeah.
So
multiplayer Halo, nothing better than running up to someone on the back, slap a plasma grenade and run away.
And you run away and you walk out going beep beep. So Master Chief then runs at one of the hunters, like slides underneath him and throws a plasma grenade that sticks on his back. And then as the hunter sort of turns around, Master Chief then pops, just for good measure, pops another one on his little old face there.
Oh, great. I thought we were going to get a plasma on the dick, I'll be honest with you.
No,
because he slid under the, you know...
It could have been plasma on the dick.
Premium dick slapping plasma grenade area.
It probably... Look, he's missed a trick there. He really has. So then the hunter starts sort of scrambling to get him off. But remember, he's only got one arm because he's got a bloody fuel rod cannon on the other one. So he then explodes in a sort of a massive explosion.
He explodes.
Yeah, he explodes. Then, as the other hunter's sort of in the background, Master Chief then picks up the severed arm, right? So now he's got the cannon arm now. So Master Chief's holding the fuel rod cannon. The hunter's point of view, he sort of turns and looks just as you see Master Chief like railing into him, and then he also explodes into oblivion. They say this
into
one.
oblivion.
Yeah,
Wow.
it's a good one. So another like full on. Battle scene there in the hangar. Like, awesome.
Well, it'd been 10 minutes, so...
You've got to keep them coming. Kendo. So, after the battle, the squad then splits up. 5 Hell Jumpers head off to make a distraction, while Major Silvia, the remaining Hell Jumpers, and Master Chief head deeper into the spaceship to search for the control panel. After slitting the throats of a few more jackals, as they're going around, the sticky stab, so they're cutting jackals' throats off here, there, and everywhere, they find a control room. They insert Cortana's chip into the mainframe. She instantly has direct access to their BattleNet. It's called BattleNet, which is cool. It's also what Blizzard used to call their matchmaking system. It's a computer thing. After absorbing everything she can, she then disconnects. She's back inside Master Chief, and she tells Chief, "This is bad." She's now referring to him as Chief because they're pretty good friends.
They're good
now.
friends.
Yeah, they've dreamt together. There's no time to explain. She says, "We've got to get keys and we've got to get out of here now." Now, Cortana, she's looked at their whole schematics. She's set up some like booby traps for the Covenant, so closed off doors to sort of help them way through, and she knows exactly where Captain Keyes is being held. She leads them right to the cell. They arrive just as an elite is about to execute him. The elite hears the cell door open, he turns his head, and all he sees is Major Silvia's M6D pistol go off in his face. That's what he sees. It's pretty good. Cortana then leads them back to the nearest dropship, and they blast their way back to the human base camp on Halo's surface. Everyone involved in the rescue is now sitting around the command tent for a debrief.
This orbital was constructed by an ancient race known by the Covenant as the Forerunners. It seems that they left ruins and artifacts all over the galaxy. Some of those artifacts are the technology that the Covenant employ, and another of those artifacts is this ring. They call it Halo. As we're already aware, the Covenant decided, for reasons best known to themselves, that humankind was an object of blasphemy requiring extinction. In Halo, we now appear to have found an object of worship.
Halo, it's their god?
I think it would be better to say that this is their church, and the Forerunners, their gods.
It makes a kind of sense. If this ring is anything to go by, the technology of the Ancients would have been far in advance of the Covenant.
Not to mention our own.
I ain't going to start praying to them.
But there's something else. Something important. It's hard to accurately interpret the data. But according to Covenant message traffic, Halo is a weapon.
A weapon? Of what kind?
It isn't clear. I'm not even sure the Covenant know themselves. But they repeatedly describe the destructive power as unimaginable.
I do not like that.
It gets worse. When the Pillar of Autumn crashed, the Covenant believe it disrupted something under the ring's surface.
The armament system?
No, something else. They don't even have a name for it. But whatever it is, it terrifies them.
Okay, from what you've told us, our mission is clear. If Halo is a weapon, we need to prevent the Covenant from being able to use it.
The Covenant refer to a location called the Silent Cartographer. It seems to be a map room which reveals the position of Halo's control center. Obviously, that control center is our best bet to shut the system down.
And where is this map room?
Somewhere beneath here.
I know where that is. 2 lifeboats came down on the same beach, and I only pulled out 3 survivors. The LC is hot.
Too hot to get Master Chief and 4 squads of Marines in there.
Piece of cake.
Sir, permission to speak freely?
Granted.
Why send the Spartan? The Hell Jumpers sleep locked and loaded. We're ready right now. If this weapon system needs a takedown, it's just the job my men were trained for.
Point Major, but I have other plans for the Hell Jumpers.
Sir, what could be more important than...
I don't know what we uncovered when the Pillar of Autumn came down, but I do know this. If the Covenant are scared of it, I want it. Major Silver and the Hell Jumpers will be coming with me.
Well, we have come to the end of episode 1 of Peter Jackson's cancelled Halo movie report. We hope you enjoyed this episode, and in fact, we hope you enjoyed the whole series, and we would love it if you could subscribe, be it on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, or wherever you like to listen. Subscribing really honestly does help us get discovered in the charts. It would also be terrific if you could leave us a 5-star rating, or you know what, most importantly of all, just tell a friend. We're completely independent here at Cancelled Movie Report, so your support really does mean the world to us. A huge thank you to Steph Bendixsen and Gus Ronald for lending their voices this episode. We do encourage that if you enjoyed their work, go over, follow them on their channels and let them know how much you enjoyed it. What do you think of the movie so far, and have we missed anything? We would love to hear from you. You can always get in touch with us via cancelledmovies@gmail.com or @cancelledmovies on all of the socials. And hey, maybe there's a cancelled movie project you've always wanted to hear about. Why not let us know? You can fill out the form in the episode description alerting us to a project, and we may just give it the Cancelled Movie Report treatment. I'm Michael Campbell. I've hosted and edited this episode. Eden Porter was my co-host too, and we both produced the show. We'd also like to thank the rest of our amazing voice cast, all of which you'll find listed in the episode notes. And make sure you're listening next week for the conclusion of Peter Jackson's Halo, but if you can't wait, here's a sneak peek.
Extraordinary. The Covenant are correct. The Forerunners are gods. I can see it now. Whoever controls the Halo controls the fate of the universe.
But until then, take care.